I'm Brandon Miller, and you are listening to Coach. This weekly series dives deep into the world of CliftonStrengths and how they impact your daily life. Hear from certified strengths coaches on the ins and outs, quirks, and characteristics of all 34 strengths and 4 domains and how they play out in real life. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the Strengths Whisperer Coach to Coach Season 2. Today I'm here with Lisa Cummings, and we are going to talk about the strength of individualization. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here today.
So this is a pretty cool strength, and we're going to dive into it in a moment, but I'd like to give our listeners an opportunity to know a little bit about you and where they can find you. So could you tell us a bit about you and how cool you are? I only want the amazing parts. Just keep it awesome and we'll go there. But yes, please tell us about you.
Well, I founded Lead Through Strengths back in 2015 to focus all on people's strengths, what makes them unique, which really ties into individualization so well. No wonder I started a company like this, because if I can help people figure out their differentiators, they can make those their differences. They can make those their differentiators. So we do a lot of team events, mostly team offsites, team cohesiveness sessions, team retreats, and they're nearly all focused through a lens of strengths.
Awesome. And you are on LinkedIn. So if people want to find you, they can connect with you there.
Yes, and it's under my name, Lisa Cummings. You do the linkedin.com/in/Lisa Cummings, and there I will be.
Very good. Okay, you started us down the path. Individualization. So in all my years working with strengths, this is one that sometimes takes a little more time to bring some clarity and some understanding. And so please give us, how you understand it. You could speak from your own experience with it. You could speak as though you were teaching a room. Take us down the path of individualization.
I'm glad you brought up that notion that it can take a little bit more time. And I think when it does, for a lot of people, their first introduction to the word individualization, they're reading it, and because it's kind of a made-up word, it sounds like it's all about me. I want to individualize it about me. To a lot of people, they receive it that way until they read the definition and really get into it and understand it's all about being inquisitive and interested in you and in everyone else. That's what makes me love people. It's what makes me curious about them. It's what allows me to, like, if I meet a stranger, I think it makes me approachable to strangers, because they can tell if they talk to me in line and they've never met me before that I don't have the leave me alone face on. I'm open to what makes each person interesting. And I think that's a really big one. It's a high customizer when it comes to work. It's how it shows up on me. I love customizing. I like making a conversation or an email palatable to every person who's reading it. What would make it work for them specifically. So I find people who lead through individualization to usually be, they like people. They are curious about other people. They build rapport quickly because it makes them, to the other person, it could even make them a little chameleon, with the ability to be a little chameleon, but not in an inauthentic way, just that we go down the path that works for you. So that's the thing. You and I could connect on something, and then I meet someone else and we connect on something absolutely different, and they would see me as a different person, but it's just because that's the part that we brought out because it related to you. So there's a little tour of individualization.
Oh my, the last piece there, I want to camp for a minute, because that is one of the most interesting aspects of this strength, is that chameleon characteristics. And I've asked groups of people, I said, you might know you're an individualizer when you pick up the accent of people you're talking to without thinking you're going to do it, or you naturally start to pick up their mannerisms and you start to mirror back to them their behaviors, and you're not thinking to do it. You're respecting the differences between you and them, and you're bridge building when you do it. And so I happen to travel internationally, and in some countries, they don't greet with head forward back. they greet with head side to side. And I've actually found myself in other places going, hello. And I'm greeting head side to side. And to them, it's, oh my gosh, he's doing what we do. What is this? I look very different from them. I'm from a very far place. And so this strength has this instinct almost. It's an instinct that starts to do that. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that part you brought up.
Your story was resonating. I was thinking about in trips to India in the past where I don't know I'm doing what you just said about the head, but then once I'm back home, I'm still doing it, but it's not felt until I get home. I don't know I'm doing it when I'm there, but it's when I come back that I realize, oh, I've picked that up just because it's who I've been around. And I don't think I pick up things that I don't like. I don't think I pick up things that don't feel like me, but there's just something natural about being really efficient at finding the connection point. And whether that's some of the subconscious mirror neuron stuff going on that you're describing, or more consciously finding the things that we both like to talk about or want to talk about, or finding a point of interest. And maybe it overlaps with my positivity in the arena that, like, if I know there's going to be an area of discord or disagreement, I'm fine if we disagree, but I also will first always be looking for the connection points. And I think that's something that individualization gets to really fast. It's an efficient way to build rapport because you can easily find connection points with anyone.
I love that you brought up mirrored neurons because it's the technical term that I don't get to. And well, funny coincidence. As of the recording of this podcast, I'm a week away from traveling to India. So I appreciate that you caught so quickly. The side to side is an entire subcontinent, and it is a way of greeting, in a way of showing respect. I'm listening to you when I'm moving my head. And I think that perception, right? I'm perceiving it. And the part that you said, you come home and you don't realize it's still happening. I'm still doing this. So anytime I travel down to Texas or Georgia or Alabama, anywhere in the South, I'm going to come home and my kids are going to go, when did you start saying y'all? When did you start sounding like that, Dad? And I will say, I don't realize I'm doing that. It's part of just what I've adopted to build connection points. So can you nerd us out a little bit on mirrored neurons, just how it might connect as they did the research on this strength?
Well, this is my personal take on how it happens. I mean, there's a subconscious part of it, right? There's the subconscious part of what happens with mirroring when you don't know. And my husband will bust me on this and say, "You're lipping me," because I'm like mirroring back with my mouth. I must look real creepy. So there's another side to it as well. But I think individualization is very tuned into the other person. And if you're tuned into the other person and they have a certain stance or posture or energy, that feels really natural to match. This isn't something you consciously do. I mean, that is a deal with mirror neurons. I mean, some people try to game that and say, I've heard people in technique saying, if you'd like to connect with someone else, if they've crossed their legs, you should cross their legs. If they smile, you smile. If they are open and like postures, and they use it like it's a technique. If you lead their individualization, it's not going to be a technique. It's just going to be what your body does. It's going to be how you are. So I very much am like that with matching the energy of the person. I think it's like that. So, for example, if I sit down on a plane and I'm getting ready to go deliver a speech, and I might be kind of like amped up, getting ready for a big event, but I sit down and I feel a person's heaviness. There's a little intuitiveness there that is like, oh, take a deep breath. This person's in a different state. So I can kind of match that and not be a stressor to them. Or if somebody feels hyped, I can't I'm remembering a plane trip with our friend Tyann, and this guy sat next to us with I just called them party pants. He had like pants with a crazy print all over them. And I'm like, this guy's energy is talk to me. It was very big and bold. And so that just came out, the big bold side. Like, tell me about those pants, man. Versus the somber lady who you sit next to. It's just, you just smile and move on, and it happens naturally. If you lead through individualization, you can feel a person's energy, you can match a person's energy, and it just happens.
I love it. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa Cummings, you can find her on LinkedIn or leadthroughstrengths.com. Team events of all sorts and kinds. And when you hear Lisa talk about individualization, listener, what you want to know is curating to the event is often something that the individualizers do very well. I imagine that is when we get to the performance side. So now let's move over to how does individualization show up in a way that is outstanding, top quality, high level, because the essence of the strengths movement was to identify where each of us has standout ability. We can sustain excellence. So let's talk a little bit about how individualizers do that.
Well, if I give an example about what we do as a company. So, for example, we use the tool CliftonStrengths. Gallup owns that tool. And when I started the company, I was thinking, how can we add and enhance someone's experience about CliftonStrengths, but also do something different from what Gallup already offers the world? And for me, what came to mind instantly was, if you lead through individualization, you love customizing. So I love making custom programs. I love if I can standardize, because I do like being efficient. I also lead through Maximizer and Strategic. So I'm going to want to be efficient and have some standards, but I can very easily customize to the client. We can tailor examples and activities so that it feels like we know their industry or their company culture. And we walk in the room and they say, wow, it feels like you're one of our employees. That is the kind of comment you might get if you lead through individualization, and it's just natural for you to want to make it really feel like them. And then at even a product level, when we were deciding on products, I thought, well, we like customizing. So why not be the company that can say, oh, you have initiatives this year on situational fluency, or you have one on delivering feedback, you have one on working through conflict as a team after reorgs. Cool, we can customize to you and what is going on with you. So being able to do that kind of bespoke thing is actually fun for us, and it's not what other people are doing. So I thought it would be a great way to differentiate our offerings, and that is totally in alignment with individualization.
Bespoke offerings. That was one of my favorite learned words last year. I saw the word bespoke. I thought, whoo, that's a fun one. And grabbed that one as, customizing for others, making it fit exactly how they want it. I love that you said the word, though, the wow impact, like when they can go, whoa, how did you know us so well? And that gift, that strength of individualization. And one of the cool parts when I used to talk about this regularly was that gift of learning how other people work together, how finding that out. And I used to refer to this as the casting director strength. This is the strength that if you had to find out who fits best on which team to get the best outcome, this is your ticket. Find an individualizer, let them help you select. And I'm curious how you've seen that version of it come through.
Oh, yeah. So, as a manager, it happens to be very handy because if you're assigning work, you can say, oh, I thought you would love this project because it really calls to your input in this way, or it really calls out to your communication theme because of this. I can hand over a project and give an explanation about why I think it's perfect for that person. And then it might make a connection for them so they can turn their strengths on and they never would have even noticed otherwise. It can help me care about those kind of things so that I'm asking the questions up front. I think because if you lead through individualization, you tend to be very curious, whether that's being just inquisitive in how you interact or just curious about things. So you can ask great questions and really get to that need of the other person. So it's been great in a leadership capacity and in general. I mean, whether that is me as a leader, me as a service provider, just being able to ask questions and hear out where someone is coming from so that that customization can actually hit for them and be relevant for them. It's definitely a handy talent.
When we think about individualization, there's an undercover piece to it I want to talk through today. And that is the individualizer's ability to read people, to read them and sense where they're coming from and figure out not just for the benefit of how to approach them, but for the understanding for me of how to trust them, how to engage with them. And I'm curious if you could speak to that a bit because it's one of those aspects of this one. And I when I used to talk to hiring managers and they would say, I just had I could sense. I knew this wasn't the right move. I could figure where they were coming from, and it's like here's my teenage parent example. So I'm a parent with teenagers, like telling when my kids are lying. One of the powers of this strength for me is I can read my teens so well, which helps me, by the way, play poker well. But it helps me with them because when they try to give me their story, and I'm reading nuances, right, facial expressions, body language, it's like, no, you're not good enough at lying to get away with this. Sorry. So I'm curious, that undercover part of this one, how it can read people so well.
Well, this is an interesting one for me. I think the natural talent is there and perhaps has a lot of opportunity for me to develop it into a real strength. So, where I am with it is yes, I have some of the spidey sense thing. I can get a vibe on something very quickly. I get a good feeling or a bad feeling about something or someone, or you can just tell when things are on or off. And the more in person you are, the better that is. So if it's on the phone, I'm okay at it. If I'm on Zoom, I'm better at it. If we're in person, it's easy. And the part for me personally where I need the extra development is I let my thinking override it. And I also let my positivity override it, where I'm like, oh, I'll give them another chance. I'll give it another chance. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. So I'll have it. And then my analytical brain, the thinking brain, or the positivity brain will discard the feedback sometimes or push it back and say, just before making a real decision on that, hang tight. So, if I'm getting a good feeling about something, I'll trust it and go. If I'm getting a bad feeling about something, I need some more development on just letting that stand and listening to it a little more clearly.
I am curious in that vein, the times when you looked back and went, "Oh, I should have trusted my instincts on that one." For your individualization, is that one of your teachers? The hindsight, the ability to look back, see where, "Oh, I know when I had that thought or that feeling." I like how you said spidey sense. Is that one of your teachers for development, is the hindsight that happens with this one?
I think it is. And I'm not because I lead through positivity, strategic, and futuristic, I look ahead so much that if things go sideways, I don't spend too much time worrying about it. I just figure out where we're headed next. And so even the word hindsight, I'm like, yeah, do I spend much time in hindsight? Do I look back and let those moments be teachers? Do I let those moments give me the confidence to trust that judgment that individualization offered me that I discarded or pushed back for a while? So, yes, it's a teacher, and I need to let it be a teacher a little more often.
So this is the big question I've been asking a lot of my guests here, and you're starting down the path, so this is a great segue. If you were coaching you today, so I want you to coach me as though I were Lisa, and you were going to coach you on how to elevate your individualization, how to take what is today probably one of your great contributors to success. It certainly, as we hear everything you do with bespoke event planning and your curating and customization, as well as just your ability to connect with people and sense when they're the loud pants person or the quiet I want to rest person, like just that ability to sense and know, some obvious, some intuitive. But if you were coaching you today on Lisa, here's how we're going to grow. Here's our growth plan for individualization. What might you tell Lisa today?
Well, if I were really being a coach, I'd be asking me all the questions instead of telling me advice, but I'll just tell me advice because based on your question.
Well done. Well done, coach. Well done. You're the first one who passed that test. Check 5 stars for you. Like, I wouldn't tell. I would ask.
But since I know me and what I need, one of the things that I would encourage me to do is amplify the peopling. So, what I mean by that is working from home for the last 15 years, living in rural environments, sometimes living on the road. There is actually a lot of solitude. And even though you might get a hustle bustle in the vibe of people out in an airport now and then, there is a lot of kind of solitude time. And if you lead through individualization and some of the other strengths that I lead through, the people part is actually fun. And I know there are a lot of people in the world who are like, too much peopling, too many people, I don't like people. And I love people. I love being around people. And I have to make quite a concerted effort to get myself in those environments based on where I live and then what's going on in the day-to-day of business. So if I were coaching me, I think I would ask myself what kind of practices I could build in that get me out in front of real humans more often. And that could be any variety, whether that's prospective or peers or business oriented or even just soul filling personal stuff. I think the people part would be something on that plan.
If you're listening today and you share this strength with Lisa, or you know people who do, has some great takeaways for you with how to develop this, how to grow this. And if you're curious to learn more from Lisa, again, Lisa Cummings on LinkedIn, you can find her there and send a connection request or send a message. Or if you want to know more about the team events, leadthroughstrengths.com. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time and attention to this particular strength because there's a lot to unpack here. This strength has a lot of dimension and depth, and I really appreciate not only your depth to it, but your own candor in your journey along the way. So thank you so much for that.
You bet. It's been fun. And they got a twofer since you lead through it as well. So they got to hear a little bit about you this time too, which is totally cool.
It was a lot of fun. So listeners, in just a moment, you're going to hear a word from our sponsor and you're going to hear about the download, How to Be a Good Teammate to Me, talking about individualization. This is a particular download that helps you to get to know members of your team or family or team, friend group. Great way to download that resource. So on behalf of myself and Lisa, listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll see you next time on Coach to Coach.
Thank you for tuning in to the Strengths Whisperer Coach to Coach. Please feel free to reach out to Brandon to partner with 34 Strong for collaboration opportunities to serve your employees or clients together. If you are a strengths coach, lead a strengths-based team, or are a fan of strength, we invite you to receive our complimentary resource, How to Be a Good Teammate to Me, Understanding My Contributions and Needs. Email Brandon_Miller at 34strong.com to connect, and he will gladly share this resource that will continue to unlock the power of strength.